The regular season is over, which means votes for NFL awards are in, but we don't care about the official voters. We care about what Ross Tucker and Howard Cross think. So, Howard, since you seem very enthused about this, let's begin with the MVP of this NFL regular season. Who is it?
I'm going to go with Tom Brady.
Are you serious?
I'm going to go with Tom Brady. I know Peyton Manning broke all the records. He did everything. But for Tom Brady to get his team into the 2 spot, not having his whole complement of receivers, not really knowing what the running game and trying to fit together a defense, and losing 2 or 3 of their best players, I'm still going with Tom Brady.
You really think Tom Brady's the MVP over Peyton Manning?
Yeah. I know you love Peyton Manning. I would even go Cam Newton before I went Peyton Manning.
I'm going to debunk this in a moment. But Ross, let's hear who your MVP is.
Well, I mean, I think you can make an argument for Tom Brady, certainly. I think you can make an argument for Nick Foles or LaShawn McCoy when you look at what those guys have done, just off-the-chart seasons. But for me, the obvious answer is Peyton Manning. And not just the records, but you look at the success the team had this year with Von Miller missing the first 6 games, then he gets hurt at the end. Ryan Clady, arguably the best left tackle in football, gets hurt very early in the season. So for Peyton Manning to help his team get the #1 overall seed, overcoming those issues, I think, is what gives it in his favor.
Absolutely. Let's gang up on Howard here for a minute,
Give
Ross.
it your best shot.
No, because I think you can make a pretty good case for Brady, too.
But here's the thing. Tom Brady also, his defense, a lot better than Peyton Manning's defense this year, no matter what you want to look at, any kind of statistic. And this year, 4 times the Patriots have won games in which Tom Brady threw for 225 yards or less. Peyton Manning twice this entire year threw for under 290 yards. Both times his team lost. Howard, I think the Broncos rely on Peyton Manning a lot more than the Patriots rely on Brady.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but it's bared out throughout the league that every time you have great receivers around you, you can plug a quarterback in and he can play pretty well.
And you know what? He always ends up with, 55 touchdowns and the most yards of all time, too, right?
Just remember, Matt Castle did it.
Matt Castle didn't do what Peyton Manning did this year. He won 11 games.
Your guy's going to win the MVP. I don't know why you're getting so fired up about it. Who cares what Howard thinks?
All right,
why are you arguing with Howard? Peyton's going to be the MVP. It's okay, Ryan. It's okay.
Unanimously, might I add.
I'll rub your back
and
after the show.
And if he's not, it'll be a travesty. How about the head coach of the year, Ross?
With this one, I think you can make a lot of cases for guys. I think certainly Bill Belichick, to Howard's point. I think Chip Kelly with what he's done in Philadelphia. But to me, Bruce Arians is another one. But to me, the clear winner is Ron Rivera in Carolina. I mean, this guy, week 4 of the year, there's reports out that the Carolina Panthers are already preparing for the eventual coach search. He was as good as gone. And now they're 12-4. They're getting a bye in the playoffs. I think it's clearly, to me, Ron Rivera, for him to steady that ship and to get them to the point where they're a legitimate Super Bowl contender. Nobody saw that coming. He basically came into this year as a lame duck coach and thrived.
Yeah, I mean, this is a year, though, where there's a lot of candidates. Sometimes it's completely obvious, and I know you feel strongly about Rivera. There's a lot of candidates, though, this year. Howard, do you agree Rivera ends up separating himself, though? I
think Rivera separated himself, but you got to go kind of with Andy Reid going out and taking a team that had the first pick in the draft and putting them into the playoffs, and not just putting them in the playoffs, almost, competing for that #1 seed out there. I think Andy Reid's going to win a lot of votes himself.
Would you give it to him or Rivera?
I would definitely give it to Rivera because, when everybody in the league was basically counting him out, if he had lost a Giant game, the Giants kind of like made his season for him.
How about breakout player this season, Howard?
Josh Gordon, Cleveland Browns. Everybody's talking about him. He did have a great year. He did a lot of phenomenal things with the ball. I can't believe that somebody just kind of burst on the scene with almost no quarterback. That's the thing. That's the thing that really said. Again, when you get a great receiver, he makes plays, and Josh Gordon did it.
Well, for him to lead the NFL in yards per game, total receiving yards, yards per catch, with the 3 quarterbacks, Brandon Whedon, Brian Hoyer, and Jason Campbell, that went in and out.
And he was suspended, too.
And he missed the first 2 games, I was going to say, which makes it even more impressive. Plus, when you're playing the Browns, what do you think the defensive meetings are like? They can't run the ball a lick. All their other receivers stink. Let's cover Josh Gordon. Please. And he was still able to produce a huge year. The only other guy I think that deserves a mention is Nick Foles. You look at what he's done. And the stability he's brought to that position, the touchdown-interception ratio, the big plays the Philadelphia Eagles offense, they're setting all kinds of franchise records. I think Nick Foles should be in the running as well.
Now, last year was a very sexy year for rookies. You had the quarterback class that was fantastic. This year, not quite as much, but what rookie stands out most to you, Ross?
Offense, defense, or either way?
Either way, whatever you're feeling at this moment right here.
I'm going to go with two. Keenan Allen on offense and Kiko Alonso on defense. Kiko Alonso basically led the Buffalo Bills in tackles. He was a gem. He was a find. So he's the guy that stood out to me defensively. But offensively, Keenan Allen. I mean, he's a big reason why the Chargers made the playoffs. Third-round pick. He's a guy that should have gone higher. They said he had issues with his knees. So far, so good with his knees. He has become the best receiver for Phillip Rivers, and Phillip Rivers comeback player of the year, maybe, type of season. So for me, it's Keenan Allen.
How about the rookies stand out to you?
I'm going to go Wilkerson. I'm going to give the Jets some love. I think the kid played great. I mean, he's a monster.
Richardson.
Yeah. Mohamed Richardson. But
that's a good sign, though, for Jets fans, if you're using those guys interchangeably. So think about it. Sheldon Richardson, Mohamed Wilkerson, that's a pretty good sign.
Anyone on that defensive line is
Damon Harrison. Put Damon Harrison in the mix.
That kid would have been great for a lot of teams. A lot of teams wish they would have got him. They didn't. He did a great job. And, we're going to go Eddie Lacy, Alabama. I mean, he really helped Green Bay out, gave them a running game, helped them kind of stabilize things when Aaron Rodgers was out of the game. I know how you love quarterbacks and how Aaron Rodgers is probably another one of those guys that can't be looked over, but Eddie Lacy did a great job.
You know what? Normally we like to get on Howard about his love of Alabama, but I would have to agree with you in this case. How about Defensive Player of the Year, Howard? Who would you give it to?
Ooh, Defensive Player of the Year. I'm going to just go with J.J. Watt. I mean, he's still, even though their defense was horrible, it looks like they couldn't stop anybody. He played great again, and I liked him.
I love that choice because I don't think it should be just the guy in the best team. To me, it probably comes down to Robert Mathis and Robert Quinn, two Roberts. I'm going to go with Robert Quinn, though. I love that Mathis emerged from Dwight Freeney's shadow this year with what he did in Indianapolis. But Robert Quinn, you look at the number of pressures he had this year, and the Rams were trailing in a lot of games. Teams are running the clock out. It's not like they had a lead, and he was just able to get these extra. He's got like 15, 20 more pressures than anybody else in the league. For me, it's Robert Quinn. Phenomenal year, the third-year guy for St. Louis.
Now, how about just the best team? The best team from this regular season, who would you say, Ross?
Well, if I'm going by the best team right now, I don't know if you're looking at the totality of the regular season or the best team right now. To me, I believe the best football team right now is the San Francisco 49ers, which is interesting because they haven't rushed the passer that well the last couple weeks. Michael Crabtree's still not the same guy, but I was looking, the best team to me is if they played on a neutral site right now, right? If there was any team played 3 or 4 games in like a series, I think the Niners would win it. I think they would find a way to win it. So right now, the best football team. I don't think they're going to win the Super Bowl because 3 road game is going to be tough, but I think the Niners.
Howard?
If it's me, I'm going to be really worried about the Carolina Panthers. I have no idea, what they're going to do with Cam Newton. If he starts to run the ball just a little bit more, throw the ball. If Steve Smith is healthy enough to play through the playoffs, it's going to be tough, guys. And that defense is maybe one of the better defenses that we've seen for a while.
We know who we are giving our awards to on TWIF. We'll find out who the actual awards go to as the offseason rolls on.